Welcome everybody to this week's show on the Recruiting Gym. And today looks like it's going to be an absolute cracker. We've got Ian Hamilton from People Traction, and he's the bot expert. Now, I'm all for IT helping recruiters make more money because after all, I mean, without recruiters, job boards never would have got off the ground. Without recruiters, LinkedIn never really would have actually happened. But bots automating the recruitment process? I'm not quite sure. So we're going to have a chat with Ian Hamilton today. And I guess, as you know, the goal of today is to help you understand more about the recruiting industry and hopefully help you be better as a recruiter, because that's what we're here to do at Nurture It's Recruiting Gym. So first and foremost, just hello, Ian. How are you?
Hi, Alex. I'm doing well. Thank you. Doing well.
Do you want to give us a quick history of you and your career and how you've come to be involved in recruiting?
Yeah, cool. So, funny, my career started out back in Belfast, as you might have guessed already. I was actually a restaurant manager for a restaurant back in Belfast, and I say that I've been in the recruiting sphere for as long as I've been in a career, and well, that's true because, well, back in those days, recruiting was sticking a piece of paper in the window and hoping the students passing by saw it, and then interviewing and selecting the right people and bringing them in. And it's surprising how much of my job was actually involved in doing that. But then whenever I moved across to Scotland, I started out my proper thoroughbred recruitment industry career with Hayes. I had the same old "if you cut me, I bleed blue" mentality. And that was it was a good time, a great experience, great training. And then I moved through to a consultancy called Search, where I worked into the oil and gas industry in Aberdeen. And then I turned to, I was a turncoat then, and I went in-house with a company called Wood Group. Wood Group are large oil and gas. My role with them was in managing the talent attraction strategy for them globally. So we had 35,000 employees, 40 countries around the world. And at peak, we were hiring about 1,400 people per month between perm and contract.
1,400?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big role. Whenever we started out, we were using pretty much 80% recruitment agencies in places. Whenever we came towards the end, we were using much less. And that was a strategic provide value to the shareholder sort of decision. So it was. Once I had done that project with Wood Group, I moved out as a consultant. Consulted with large organizations over the next year to deliver recruitment strategy, employer branding strategy, and talent generation campaigns. And that's where it all started out. So one of the first talent generation campaigns I used a recruitment bot in was for a small business up here in Aberdeen, where we were doubling the number of operational employees they had in a week. And that was really what opened my eyes to the possibilities of bots.
Right.
Well, that's where we started.
And that's where it brings us today. So as everybody knows, today we're talking about, can bots really be involved in the recruitment process? Specifically, how can it help or hinder agency recruiters? Now, if you read the press, there's no end of articles that comes out that loves to tell you that the recruitment agencies are going to die because the machines are on the march. I guess I'm skeptical of that. Now, I don't doubt that the machines and artificial intelligence will have a greater importance in the recruitment process, but replace humans? Well, that's sort of what we're here to talk about today. So on one side of the table, we've got Ian, and he's the advocate for bots and the machines. I'm the advocate for the human recruiter, and we're really going to see what role do bots have. So just as an opening question, Ian, just to check, are you up for this?
Yeah.
You're up for it? Right, okay, that's good. So, first and foremost, Ian, can you just give us a few thoughts on what are the different types of ways that AI or artificial intelligence or bots are currently used in the recruitment process?
Okay, cool. So artificial intelligence is actually used in a lot of areas that we don't already know. So, for example, LinkedIn will use elements of artificial intelligence whenever they decide how our jobs get displayed to, or who our job adverts get displayed to. Okay. Facebook will use an element of that as well. Who your adverts get displayed to. Google with the pay-per-click advertising use an element of that. They all use a thing called machine learning to decide who are the most likely people to click and interact with your adverts, and where they'll provide value for you. Now, having said that, probably a couple of the examples I just gave are one of the reasons that people don't use artificial intelligence more. If you think about the quality of candidate you get through from some job boards that purport to use artificial intelligence and machine learning to select who they're going to put your job adverts in front of, and you very quickly go, oh, wow, okay, if that's the example that he's going to use for artificial intelligence, then I'm going to stay away from him. So where is AI used in recruitment at the minute? Anything from reading CVs as they come in and scoring how relevant that person is, right the way through to Maya, which is another recruitment chatbot, but they go further into the fact that they purport that they can do the sourcing to first outreach, to telephone screening, phone call done by a computer, to scoring suitability of candidate, to providing shortlist to hire manager. So they say that they automate over 70% of the recruitment process. So that's the scale that we're talking about, right? From a very small influence through to trying to do recruiters out of a job.
First interview with a robot. That's one for another call. I'd love to be able to take part in that and see, like, can I tell? I
haven't seen it yet, but my kind of thought of that is like, the electric shaver against your throat. Have you done this before? Probably not as bad as that.
I guess whether it depends whether it's up front with saying, hi, I'm a robot, or actually whether it's trying to be a human and imitate that. So but I guess for the purposes of today, let's focus on bots in talent acquisition, because I'm not sure the technology's there yet to screen candidates. It might be there to match it. But let's think about talent acquisition. How do we actually grab the attention of a candidate and initially engage a candidate using robots? So can you explain to me, Ian, how do recruiting bots work in the talent acquisition space?
Okay. Some of the most used examples that we have is in the talent attraction piece of talent acquisition. So one of the places that we help clients with is we drive Facebook ads to a very targeted audience of people that we reckon are likely to be suitable for the role that we're advertising. The person clicks on the advert, they enter into a chatbot, the chatbot starts to interact with them in a conversational sense, and then through that conversation, we deliver their application into the client's applicant tracking system. So that's the most common use case we've got.
Okay, so this is just for me to put it into the sales process or a sales funnel, this is sort of initial engagement, lead capture of candidates that could potentially be interested.
Yeah.
And I guess that's different for most recruiters, because what they do is they engage with candidates first when they basically go, do you want this job? Do you want this job? Yeah. Where what you're saying is you're trying to make that initial approach a little bit softer. Is that right?
And engaging and the same experience to everybody that enters the recruitment process. So I talk about how I believe internal recruitment functions and agency recruitment functions are very often severely understaffed for the level of service that they should provide.
Right.
Not the level of service, but the level of service they should provide. So if somebody applies to your company, they should expect to receive a thank you and a piece of engagement that will keep them fond and familiar with your brand. Okay, and that's the top level part. There is if you are a Tesco's, if you are a IBM, if you are another known brand, and typically somebody enters your recruitment process and doesn't hear anything back from you ever again, apart from 6 months later that you receive a rejection into your junk email box. That's never ever good service to anybody, and it does your brand damage. And this is where chatbots come in.
And I think recruitment companies are guilty of that too. You know, they get so many applications, they sift the ones that they're interested in, and everybody else gets the like the cold shoulder or the red flag if you're in Broadbean. And some agencies now, embarrassingly for the industry, are putting, if you don't hear from us within 2 days, you failed, which is horrific customer service. So I guess I'm interested in exploring how bots can improve that customer service, given a lot of individuals don't necessarily get the service that I guess they should expect or want to expect from a recruiter. So what we've got so far is that this is about initial approach. And so how does the individual know that they're communicating with a bot when they click on an advert in Facebook?
Yeah, so typically I encourage clients to be really upfront with that. So it'll be in the call to action, it will be talk to our chatbot about this opportunity or find out more about this opportunity from our bot.
Okay.
In the hello to the chatbot, it'll be, I'm here to help you find out more about, or I'm here to help you do this, I'm here to help you do that. We're very upfront around the technology that the person's interacting with. No matter how well we train the artificial intelligence, if we pretend to be a human, we're going to fall over.
Okay, so how do you prepare for the types of questions candidates are going to ask? So they're going to ask things like, how much is this job paying? Or like, what would I have to do to apply? How do they learn all those things to say when an agency or a recruiter or a company might have maybe 15 or 20 different roles that they're recruiting for? So like that could change whether it's a purchase ledger job or it's a credit control job or one of the 10 jobs that they're recruiting for at the moment.
Sure. Well, that all depends on how much we can educate the bot. So if we do a full integration with a client system and they store all of those details and we're happy to divulge all of those details to a candidate, then we can take as much information as you've got. So for example, that would be how much does this role pay? If you have that in your system at 40 to 60K, we can tell them that if you want us to. The other thing that you can easily do is we can adopt third-party systems to provide salary estimates. We can provide all sorts of things like that. So I suppose a chatbot is a base core that's really smart, but we can bring different services into a chatbot that help grow it out over time.
Okay, and so how would, I guess the question is, I mean, candidates are used to the sort of apply now button, apply now. Mm-hmm. So do you have any research in relation to sort of candidates' willingness to engage with a bot as opposed to send an email or send their CV straight over to a recruiter?
Yeah, sure. So, well, your apply now button, Alex, it really all depends on your apply process in there. So whenever I was working at Wood Group, we were seeing huge drop off from what was a kind of old Oracle applicant tracking system with an old Oracle apply method. I know they're much better now. But we were seeing around about 7,500 applications a month. Through implementing LinkedIn's apply now button, we leveled that out to 37,500 applications per month, roughly. And that change came within a month of putting the one-click apply button in.
Right. Okay.
So it really depends on your application process. The one thing that we see is that, so whenever we're delivering people to the chatbot, we see that pretty much everybody that pre-screens to be suitable for it submits an application. And one of the things that we see happening there is that typically the application process is a conversation rather than a long form of details. Okay. Right. So where it's you answer, it provides another question, you answer, it provides, it's in a very natural conversational sense. And so people are less likely to leave that conversation. But moreover than that, if somebody does leave that conversation, if they're getting off the bus and walking to work, they stop chatting with the chatbot, we then do a drop-off sequence. So we bring them back into the chatbot 3 hours later or 6 hours later to finish their application. So where in the past, if you left the page that you were applying for a job, okay, your application wasn't, and you probably never going back to it, we can start to benefit from those drop-offs by converting them in at a later stage.
Right. So what you're telling me is that because you've because the engagement is the first hook of commitment, once you've had that hook, you can go back to them at a later date, where typically recruiters won't know people clicked on an advert and maybe looked at it and maybe thought about asking a question, but don't submit a CV. So you ask, there's a much easier way into the sales funnel.
Yeah, so as soon as somebody interacts with a chatbot, particularly when you're using Messenger, Facebook Messenger for the chatbot platform, they are then subscribed to that chatbot and we're able to interact with them in the future. And that even lasts through to, so if somebody gets 3/4 of the way through the application process and drop off, we then bring them back in 3 hours later, 6 hours later with a broadcast message to help them get back in and find the job they were applying for, and they enter at the same place as they dropped off.
Right. So a question from I got a question from Joe Holmes. He says, is it just corporate recruiters that are using these bots for job adverts, or is it agencies as well?
No, the quickest uptake that we have seen is through agencies. And that's typically because an agency's procurement process is much, much quicker. So certainly we're seeing quicker uptake from recruitment agencies. And some of that comes down to, so we're working with 15 to 20 person recruitment agencies, and the decision that they're making is they want to grow. So do they make better and more use of the people that are within their business and offer them the opportunity to build more by having the right interaction with the right person at the right time? Okay. Or do they hire another 3 recruiters to do all the CV sifting on a day-to-day basis, just the same as they do?
Right.
And I think that's where the decisions.
So what they're doing is they're using bots to sort of do half that screening call. They know they're qualifying that individual, and then the recruiters are getting better qualified leads.
Yeah, it's more targeted advertising that's delivering into a chatbot is where the major step change has come immediately. So it's that advertising to the right people, delivering the right people into the chatbot in an engaging conversation, converting them into applicants. So the recruiter is looking at more suitable people, but less applications as a whole. Right. So you're not spending your day sifting through, rejecting people, but what you are doing is you're spending your time talking to people that can actually build whenever it comes in.
And so I guess it's the primary method for you using bots within Facebook and Facebook advertising?
That's one of the methods that brings the biggest immediate return.
So a question
for the client.
So a question for you then. So most recruiters will be using LinkedIn for recruiting, but Facebook for recruiting, everyone's thinking, well, are they really thinking about jobs when they're in Facebook? Like, it's their personal place, not their workplace. So how does advertising sort of jobs and vacancies in Facebook, how is that different from maybe sort of what you do in LinkedIn?
Well, for a start, at the minute, the only difference is your advertising costs are much less and you're actually getting the right people. So that's the main difference that we're seeing. People are very, very open and very ready to engage with career content on Facebook. So we don't see any kind of challenges there. The cost per click is much lower. So we're seeing a cost per click across our clients of around about 28 pence per click. If you are to advertise to some of the same niches on LinkedIn, you'll be paying £15 a click.
And so how does the advert that you put in Facebook different? Is it still purchase Ledger Clark, Bristol, 22K, apply now?
Okay, so whenever you're going for a cost per click of 28 pence, you can afford to be a little less efficient with that, what I call straight for the jugular advertising. Okay. Right? Now, I'm not saying that you completely rule it out, right? So straight for the jugular advertising is basically straight to the point. In a sales sense, it would be, this is how much it is, buy it. You buy it or not, right? In a recruitment sense, it's, this is the job, apply or not. Okay. Now, that in some instances is absolutely the right way to go. So, for example, if you're recruiting a contractor for an offshore role in Aberdeen to go offshore for 3 weeks and to come back home, and who knows if you've got a role for them to go back offshore whenever they come back home onshore, right? That's straight for the jugular. There's no point in doing employer branding warm-up and nurturing because, well, you're looking for somebody to go offshore quickly. Whereas if you're doing true career recruitment, then you want that person to want to work for you by the time they apply. So that not just a random, I fancy applying for this job because I'm a wee bit peed off with my boss. Yeah. You want them to say, that is a brand that I would like to work with because I understand their organization, I understand the services they provide, and I align with their beliefs and behaviors.
And so I guess from an agency's perspective, if you're a specialist agency and you might be doing dynamics or you might be doing like compliance, like regulatory risk, or even just a local accounting recruiter that has maybe 7 or 8 roles they recruit for regularly, what you're saying is Facebook works really well for, hey, we're the guys for compliance recruitment. When you do look, we're here for you. So does that give them the opportunity to use things like their salary surveys, the white papers they've produced, to sort of try and initiate some relationship with those individuals?
Absolutely. So salary surveys, white papers, and any sort of engaging content you can bring about as case studies or bring about as anything that you do in your day-to-day to either work with clients or to support the community of talent that you work with.
Right.
Is absolutely the way to do lead generation. And that's lead generation is what we're talking about here. So it's not always applicant. It's lead generation for somebody to see you, interact with you, learn about you, consider you as the agency of choice. And then they are doing that when they're not looking for a job sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so when they come to look for a job, it's you that they think about.
So in marketing, marketeers have this phrase, front of mind awareness, sort of, which is at the moment of need, they think of you. My first director always used to say, Alex, you've got friends and you've got people you want to be your friends. And the point is when your friends have a vacancy, you need to feel they're going to pick up the phone to you. So is this a more, because traditionally when a company has salary surveys or they have white papers, they give that to the recruiter to say, go and do some BD, go and do some marketing. Or they send some emails out. What you're saying is that's it. That sort of begins to replace the need for recruiters to be as proactive in picking up the phone because actually you're actively promoting that content that you've produced to people through different advertising platforms.
It doesn't necessarily mean they're not, well, you're always going to have to pick up the phone. And this goes back to earlier in our conversation when you talked about bots taking over the recruiter's job. That's just not true. What bots will allow you to do is protect your brand with the people that you're not going to engage with, person to person, and it'll help warm up the people that you are going to engage with because they have been interacted with you and they've received content from you. Whenever you say, hey, I'm Ian phoning from Exact Hires, they're not going to go, who? What? They're going to have that familiarity of who you are, what you do, and why they should be talking to you.
Okay. We've just got a question from Rich that's come in at a perfect time, which is how much work is there in setting up a bot and getting one working?
Depends on the complexity, right? So for a lot of clients that we work with that have jobs that regularly change on their website, we'll pull a feed of those jobs into the chatbot and we'll broadcast relevant jobs to relevant people, and we'll allow candidates to do a job search, and we'll do some programmatic advertising to drive leads to the chatbot for clients.
So you have generic advertising, and that then brings people to the bot, and at the bot, then you have the opportunity to promote the vacancies that you've got.
Exactly. So either whether you're promoting those vacancies the first time they arrive, or whether you're marketing to them as a follow-up 3 or 4 weeks after they first engaged with you. So there's a bit of work to get back to Rich's question. There's a bit of work definitely in bringing that feed of jobs and setting up the conversation flow. And then probably what we focus more on is the fact that we want that bot to be something that a recruiter does not necessarily engage with on a day-to-day basis. So essentially, candidate arrives in bot, has a couple of interactions, 2 weeks later gets sent a job that's relevant to them. They go through the application process on the bot without leaving the bot. And we take that data that we collect within the bot and deliver it into the applicant tracking system so that you have one place for all of your applicants, you have one place for all of your reporting on activity. You're still using the same systems that you're using right now, day in, day out.
So when you set the bot up, is it possible you might attract candidates using your white paper into your bot, and now you've got this pool of people that haven't applied, but they've sort of expressed an interest? How do you know that 4 of them are .NET developers, 2 of them do Java, JavaScript, and 4 of them are purchase ledger clerks? How do you know what they do and how to promote and how to give them the right content?
Okay, so sometimes that'll be obvious. Sometimes that'll be a salary survey of what .NET developers should be paid in Aberdeen.
Right.
You could go that granular with your salary surveys. We don't all have to be Hayes, where we produce one salary survey for every job in the whole world. It could be as granular as that. I'll answer that in a wee second, Jacob. So the other side is, over time, you can learn more from them. So they interact with the chatbot for a time, they receive a piece of content. We can say, you're interested in this sphere. Then they start to look at the other content on the site that is dynamic, on the bot, that is dynamic to what they have looked at in the past. So you can say they're interested in this. And then they start to have a look at a couple of the jobs, and we tag those jobs. And we can say, actually, they're interested in this. Over time, you learn more and more and more about the people, and then you dynamically change the marketing that's going out to them to be interesting and specific to them.
So you've got your database here, your applicant tracking system, and we've got our pool of candidates in the bot here. And what we're doing is pinging out different pieces of content, whether it be jobs or like purchase ledger clerk's guide to getting a promotion. And based on what they click on, they almost self-refine where they're at. So, and just to ask Rich's question before we go to Jacob's, do you find bots are used more at entry level or at a more senior level?
Difficult question, because if you were talking about 100k salary in Aberdeen, even coming back now with the oil industry getting back off its feet, your electrical engineers that work offshore are touching around about 100k. And that's, let's be honest, a job that elsewhere you'd be paid 40k for. So it's a really difficult way to kind of closely divide the salaries there. What we find is that people like being engaged with, regardless of whether they are they are a 20k or 100k. The other thing is that, so the messaging that you put out to people or the value that you provide in the chatbot will define on who is engaged and who likes it. So if it's somebody that is of the 100k executive level within an organization in Belfast, which, just to pick an example, you're going to have to put out a very different style of content to them as you're going to have to put out to a 20k individual in Aberdeen.
Okay. And Jacob Madsen's got a question for us. What's the size of the question tree? How many questions and answers do you need to get a bot moving?
Again, it depends on the size of the organization and the complexity of the bot. You could literally do an application process bot. So you could literally have a bot that enters somebody straight into the application process and delivers 5 questions. One of them is, please send your CV, or please upload your CV. And that could be your chatbot. Right the way through to an all singing, all dancing chatbot that does absolutely everything, from telling them how to get to the office when their interview is, what the name of the sales manager is, who they worked for last, and here's a video about this and here's a video about that. It could be huge.
Right. And so you can use bots in the pre-screening process. So someone says, I'm interested, and then they've got to answer questions. Do any bots integrate sort of video interviewing software like Hinterview or Odro? So they can basically say, answer this question, press now and record from your camera.
So it's not a space that we have particularly moved forward to at the minute, right? Because we haven't decided exactly where we're going. But we can run video screening processes on chatbots already.
Okay, cool. Okay.
So that is, now there is a wee bit of a limitation with so the length of answer, but we can already have somebody take a selfie of their phone while they're talking to the chatbot and hit send, and we take that and fire that into the client's video interviewing system. If it was a workable, you just fire it straight into the applicant tracking system, and you've got a video screening process done and dusted there and then.
Okay, and so what's the, say for example, from an agency perspective, what percentage of people that engage with the bot end up translating into leads that recruiters will want to talk to for people that are interested in vacancies or just wanting to register?
Yeah, so typically we're seeing anywhere between 60 and 80% of people.
Wow, okay.
But that's because we're being extremely careful with how we're doing the advertising. So I'm not in the business of saying, look at me, I sent 5,000 applications to you this month, how wonderful am I? I'm in the business of saying, I sent 100 applications to you, of which 82 were correct for the role.
Okay. So a question for you. So obviously you have a business doing this, but is it possible for me to create my own chatbot? Because really you're just setting up a question and answer flow and pressing play and tagging people into a conversation. So how can a normal person go about doing it?
Okay, so all you need to do is Google Chatfuel, and Chatfuel is a bot builder. It's essentially what you see is what you get, WYSIWYG editor, where you drag blocks of text and etc. into it, and you've got a chatbot, and it works on Messenger. If you keep Chatfuel's branding, it's free. If you white label it, it's around about £30 a month. If you white label it and you get to 10,000 subscribers, which any business doing any real amount of recruitment should be looking at getting within a short enough time, 6 months or so, then all of a sudden you've got a cost that is the same as our entry-level chatbot as a fully managed service. So just because you're getting a cheap or free to start with, and remembering you're spending a hell of a lot of time figuring out how to use it, it all evens up in the long run.
Cool. And so we're running out of time now. So I just want to ask you, sort of half an hour flies by. So the last question I want to give you is, what are 3 reasons that recruitment agencies should be really excited about the evolution of chatbots and the value it can bring to their agencies?
Okay, so there is mass personalization, or personalization at scale is what I like to refer to it. So once we've got you in a chatbot and once we've worked out some information about you, everything that we deliver to you, be it a message, be it an email, be it a web view, all of these different ways that we can communicate through the chatbot is personalized. Now, we only create one piece of content. We just personalize it to the person that's viewing it. Really, really smart stuff. The next step is, so that conversion of person into applicant, the mass personalization, then through into that expectation set and follow-up. So apply for a job, get that expectation set of the recruiter will reply to you within 3 to 5 days, but then having a sequence that is actually delivered to them in a way that they can receive it. So your marketing on a chatbot will be opened between 80 and 95% of the time, and will get an engagement rate of 40s to 60%. So that's 4 to 8 times stronger than your email marketing, and that alone will pay for your chatbot. And then there's that. The last bit is that pipeline building. So once you've got somebody subscribed and engaging with your chatbot, you've got them. Well, it's up to you not to lose them, basically. So as long as you're providing the right content to them, you can continue to market to them at that 80 to 95% open rate. Okay. So you've got a tool that really provides a fantastic user experience and fits in with your current systems.
Great. Well, that's a good answer, Ian. So the question is, as we get to the end of the show, because obviously this is the recruiting gym, and the premise was, do I believe that chatbots have a role for the agency recruiter? And you know what? I think I have been convinced. And the reason I'm convinced is that what it does is it helps recruiters think much more about talent attraction from the perspective of building long-term relationships rather than just, can I get a CV that I can give to a client today? I think it works for specialist agencies because I think it allows you to be very targeted in putting your brand in front of the people that you're genuinely interested in. the number of modifiers and search factors in Facebook means you genuinely can hunt out the people that you want. Where it doesn't work for agencies is finding someone to start a job on Monday. Ian will probably tell me it can, but really it's a really valuable tool in creating front of mind awareness in a really cost effective and efficient way, and allowing you to build a relationship with candidates that doesn't just involve sending a CV. The key to it, though, is making sure you've got an ongoing flow of content that those candidates are interested in, and that means it's not just about open vacancies. So we're at the end of the show. Ian, many thanks. Everyone can find you at peopletraction.co.uk. I'm sure you'd be happy to answer any questions.
Or recruitmentbot.co.uk.
Okay.
Just very simply, recruitmentbot.co.uk. You'll see all of the stuff that we do there about the recruitment bot. You can jump on to my demo recruitment bot and have a play about. And if you do, I'll be marketing to you.
Great. Well, that's great to hear, Ian. And thanks again for everyone to be on the Recruiting Gym. If you're watching this on YouTube on playback, please subscribe. We're going to be doing these every week. We've also got dozens of videos for recruiters to help you be better. Also, go to nurturit.io. If you're a recruiter and you want to be better organized, or you actually just want to be able to manage your pipeline more effectively, Nurturit's the place where you can manage your leads, your vacancies, and your placements in one place. So thank you very much, and we'll see you all soon.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.